Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here, and this video is going to be talking about, giving points, feedback, based on the 11.2 PTR changes Warlock received, I guess technically last week. It's currently Monday, but we're going to hit on all three specs here and go from there. Now, like I said, it is currently Monday. There could be a PTR build when this video comes out on Tuesday, which might skew things a little bit. If it does, hey, that's okay. It is what it is. But I want to give feedback when I can, when there's relevant Warlock changes in this PTR cycle. Looking at 11.1 PTR, really didn't get me changes at all. And I want to give feedback on things or when there are relevant changes made to try and, formulate the best version of the class we can. Also, heads up, the 11.2 Warlock PTR spreadsheet, like always, will indeed be going live on Patreon within a week or so, give or take, with testing being this weekend. If you guys want early access to that, the Tier 3 failure rank of Patreon or higher does indeed get that, but the sheet also goes public and live for everybody for free before the patch comes out. But if you want early access to it, heads up, that'll be happening within about a week or so, same as every patch. Not really gonna hit on class tree today. I would assume Affliction and maybe hopefully the class tree, even Destro a bit, might get some changes in this week's build, whether it's today or tomorrow or whenever. I'm hoping so. We'll hit on those a bit, but the class tree, we're gonna leave where it's at. Obviously, in these changes, we've hit on a bunch. I think Morgan Dave mentioned in an interview that the left side of the tree is part of they're looking at maybe like reworking this part of the tree a bit with like curses and this and that and recruit vitality. A lot of like 2-point nodes here, all that. Lack of excess points to get, or lack of floater points to get utility without removing other throughput based talents and stuff. We've hit on it a bunch. Just fingers crossed for changes to class tree. We'll see what happens. I'm not gonna spend too much time on that because honestly, yeah, right. But I want to hit on each spec and then go from there. Now, I'm going to start off with Affliction here. I will hit on Aff, Destro, Demo. Demo got basically all the changes last week, and we have some points of feedback on that too, but I think Affliction, there's a good chance Affliction gets a handful of changes this week on PTR. I could be wrong. We might not get any at all for the whole duration of PTR, but I'm assuming with Shadow Priest getting a change to Void or Shadow Crash, 2 charges, 15-second cooldown, all that stuff, quality life through the roof, and we're still sitting here with Vital Taint. I'm praying we're getting some. Aff's got a handful of issues, right? Obviously, I think this is probably one of the best versions, maybe the best version of Malefic Rapture-based Affliction we've seen, probably since Rapture's inception. Maybe boring week 1 of Shadowlands when it was OP, right? But there's obviously some issues when it comes to like quality of life, Vital Taint, half-minute cooldown, all that. See, the Corruption has a low explosion pop radius, still costs a shard for some reason. Don't really know why. It doesn't do much damage anymore. It's more of a utility spell to apply Corruption or Wither. I get that, obviously, like, if it was too strong damage-wise, past just applying, Withers or Corruption AoE, you'd spam it over like Drain Soul or Fillers, but if there was no shard cost on that. But I think we need to find a way to balance that out so we can just cast Seed without costing a shard, because our opener costs two or three shards, depending what's going on, usually 2, but at that point, like, you've already spent a handful of resources, it takes a while to ramp, and having Seed cost a shard, I think is awkward. Not the biggest issue Aff has, but still, I think we can make it we can find a world where Seed doesn't cost a shard and gives us just straight up like a Wither application that's okay. Because like Seed's radius is so small, 10 yards is nothing when you're pulling a big pack of M+. Feels weird. Yeah. But the main focal points here, obviously we've hit on Vital Taint a bunch, still gonna hit on it again. There's got to be some change to Vital Taint with quality of life, agony refreshes. Like, we just see other classes that are like, similar to Affliction, getting better and better quality life-wise again and again and again. We're still back here in TBC era playing half-minute cooldowns, resource costs, no permanent extensions, manually refreshing 8 agonies. It's like Burning Crusade combat. We got to have something with Vital Taint, I think. Hopefully that happens, quality life-wise. I love the Shadow Crash treatment. You can make it 6 targets max for agony, like through Vital Taint, that's fine. Have it apply agony to my main UA target as well. Would be a nice quality life fix there. So we're like, or have it apply Vital Taint to my target that has UA on it, so we can get that main, UA Prio Mob Vital Taint damage to Rapture. But you can make it 6 targets like Shadow Crash. Have it be a 15-second cooldown with 2 charges. I would love to see the shard cost removed. Probably can't do that. That's okay. You can leave the shard cost on. It's fine. But we need some way to maintain 6, 7, 8 dots manually, like agony and AoE, if we don't have other way to manually refresh or to automatically refresh them, outside like Vital Taint at once. Like, having somebody manually refresh X amount of agony is just archaic gameplay wise. You don't even refresh all 8 because it's just not worth, right? So I digress. Vital Taint changes, please, obviously. go from there. When it comes to like Gate 2 here, I think there's a bit of talent bloat in like the Contagion, Malediction areas, but I mean, like, they're solid passive throughput talents and stuff. I wish Improved Haunt was just Haunt. I'd love Shadow's Embrace just to be old Contagion on UA. There is a new Contagion here. Old Contagion was just, hey, your UA target takes 10% more damage. It was baked into UA passively. I'd love to get rid of Shadow's Embrace and have that be a thing, but you know, we'll see where that goes. The other issue with Affliction is, I mean, depending on tuning next tier, I mean, Destro and Aff, or even like Demonology, are Demo's higher. I think it's like 6th or 7th highest overall in single target right now for 11.1, but a lot of that is our tier set. Warlock's going to need substantial buffs heading into 11.2, likely, unless the raid is very niche and built around Warlock profiles again, which doesn't seem to be the case as much as Liberation of Undermine was. We're going to be lacking severely in single target, and I think a great way to shore that up is Oblivion. Xavius Gambit into Oblivion here, obviously. It's a 2 shard spell. I don't like having a capstone cost shards, especially 2, because it's sort of counterproductive or intuitive with how Rapture is your spender. I get that, like, yeah, it's a cooldown based button, but I'd love it to be just 0 shards. Make it like a Void Torrent-esque ability, like half minute cooldown 45. When you're channeling Oblivion, your dots, they occur. They don't like tick down faster, but they occur maybe twice as fast. It increases their damage, something like that. And Oblivion itself does damage in the channel. That'd be sick. Old Malefic Grasp-esque ability. Doesn't need a shard cost on it. It feels incredibly counterintuitive when you're going into a Rapture window, holding your Singularity and your Soul Rot to sync up to dump Raptures through your shards. But then I want to spend 2 shards on Oblivion with a weird damage profile that's capped. And I think it's a bit awkward there. We can remove the shard cost, maybe make it 1 shard. I don't know. But either way, there's so much potential with Oblivion to make it a channeled ability, have it flare up your dots, have it increase dot duration, have it do this big sucking, this big like channeled ability that just does damage and works with your dots. Malefic Grasp-esque, right? It would be so cool. It'd harken back to older like Malefic Grasp eras of Warlock when you had Drain Soul increasing damage. That'd be sick. But currently it's just an unplayable talent. Undertuned, all that. Things like Unstability obviously can just be Cascading Calamity. Same thing from BFA, just haste effect. Refresh UA gives you haste, right? I think we're trying too hard to make this like Cascading Calamity-esque without making it cascading. Make it cascading. It's easy. It's fine. You know, yeah. The cast time reduction puts me under the GCD anyways. It's literally like, this has 1 line of text on it. It's the second part. And it's undertuned and not what you want to play with a whole lot either way. Relinquished. Shard gen's cool. Should be much higher in the tree. It's not worth a point down here unless you buff it by 200%. Put it somewhere up here in the tree, be cool. This is all like whatever. This should not be our choice in single target. Currently, we're playing this to our tier set, but next tier, we're shifting a point out of Gambit back into Dark Harvest, which is realistically an AoE talent. And we're playing this in single target. That goes to show we need some help in other nodes here for single target. So there's ways to do it without just buffing Rapture or buffing, you know, certain things. You can just buff Unstable Affliction because obviously tier set's gone, doesn't spread UAs next tier anymore. You can buff Oblivion, make it worthwhile. Buff other single target-esque modifiers. You can do Malignancy a bit more. Maybe you can buff touch, yeah, sure. Other things that affect like your UA target. And there's that. Obviously, target swapping, like Soul Swap-esque, that's a pipe dream as well. Would love it, but I mean, it's probably a bit of a new talent introduction. So we'll see where that goes. But honestly, when it comes to like AF stuff, there's some mobility issues here and there, but I think the biggest thing for me is quality of life, single target-esque increase, and then just I don't know, just going from there, building a more like well-rounded, well-shaped version of AF. I think this is a good version of Rapture-based AF, probably the best we've ever seen, but there's still ways to shore it up and actually make a really good version of Affliction here, but we just haven't taken the steps to do it. I don't think there's many steps that even need to be taken, but just a few more things here and there, quality life-wise, shard gen-wise, Oblivion-wise, we can fix that. It'll be much better. As far as tier is concerned, this expansion or this patch, Marcus Avius, Black and Soul damage, Wither damage, all that, it's good for Hellcaller. If you're in a setting where you're going to be playing Hellcaller this tier, once tuning is done, like a lot of tier sets this patch are incredibly busted. I thought Warlock was busted. Some other classes, Arcane Mage, I think, is like, they're nuclear. Marksman Hunter is doing like 9 million damage, single target sustained. It's because there's some new talent change with their old tier set and stuff. Weird interactions. There's going to be a lot of tuning coming in the next few weeks to this stuff, but I think the Hellcaller version of the tier set for Affliction and Destro is actually really good in a Wither-based setting. It feels good to play with. Malevolence is fine. I think one of the bigger issues, though, when it comes to this set sort of revolves around Soul Harvester Affliction. And it's not like it's, I guess, game-breaking in a sense, but it feels awkward. And it's because, like, of how strong Drain Soul is for Soul Harvester through a million different amps, so on and so forth. But when you have the tier set, when you have Shadow of Death giving you 3 shards, whenever you cast, Soul Rot, and your tier set spawning the dude in that does melee stuff, and then him also is giving you a shard every 3 seconds for 12 seconds, it's hard to dump all your shards with TC procs, with all this Soul Rot gen, with the guy thrashing around giving you shards from your tier set, when you're trying to cast Nightfall-based Drain Souls, when you're sitting at 2 stacks here. I don't think increasing the stack count of Nightfall would do a whole lot, because they still take a while, and you're going to start expiring, or losing some, give or take. But I'll open up here very briefly and just show. Let's play Siphon Life here, because I don't want to have to sit on dummies with AC. But even when you open up here, right? So let's say we're just doing normal stuff, Haunt, UA, we're just going to open up like normal, do whatever. I have 3 shards here. I'm going to dump this for a TC proc, possibly, Knife or Shadows Embrace stacks. We got 1, Soul Rot, Singularity, Dark Glare, whatever. So 1, that's TC, 2, 3, 4. You can see shard gen coming in here, 5, 6, 7. Got to refresh Haunt here, 8, 9. I'm going to try and dump a Nightfall Drain Soul here, 10, 11, 12, 13, got to catch dots. Want to Rapture again, 14, losing Nightfall stack here. Like, so, depending on RNG and things, there's times where you can maybe squeeze 2 Nightfall-based Drain Souls in that window. But taking time off to go Nightfall Drain Soul channel. Alright, I'm back. When you have so many shards to Rapture and TC procs, and casting these Drain Souls gives you a chance to generate more TC procs when you have UA on your target and all that stuff, giving you more GCD requirements, more Raptures. The set feels great. I don't want to get rid of the shard gen, but it feels like it's very hard to dump Nightfall based effects when you have Drain Soul compared to Shadow Bolt. If you play Shadow Bolt, you can just global a Shadow Bolt. Global a Shadow Bolt. That's fine. You can weave those in much easier, but there's a lot of modifiers to Drain Soul for Soul Harvester compared to, Shadow Bolt. Obviously, Execute Claws on Drain Soul, very big, even bigger with Necrolite Teachings and stuff. Drain Soul is the better option here in single target and things for Soul Harvester. Obviously, Shard Snapping in M+, some play Shadow Bolt just to dump Nightfall stacks there as well because of the awkwardness. Maybe if you increase the cast time reduction of Drain Soul based Nightfall effects by double, so you're getting whatever it is just twice as fast, maybe it would make it a little better. It'd be really fast, but it feels like with the tier set, I'm almost overcapping on resources and things, and I can't fully leverage my Nightfall based Drain Souls, which are really, really important for Soul Harvester. Obviously, I mean, you're playing things like Ravenous Afflictions to get more Nightfall procs. You might just pull out of this. But it doesn't feel like you should, because the whole spec's based around like Drain Soul, Nightfall effects, right, and amplifying Raptures. So that's one point I want to give. Not sure if you're going to change anything. It might just be a world where you play Shadow Bolt in raid encounters and things, because you just can't simply dump the Nightfall stacks fast enough. We actually low-rolled Nightfall stacks during that attempt there too, and we still lost one. You got to maintain Shadow's Embrace. You got to maintain Haunt. You got to dump these Nightfall-based Drain Souls. You got to dump TC procs. You got to factor in Soul Rot 3 shard gen. You got to factor in the tier set, thrash around and melee, giving you a shard every 3 seconds, right? It becomes like not cognitive overload, but I'm limited on the number of spells I can cast through the GCD and just the raw duration of them all. It feels like we're trying to pack all this damage into one window, and I want to dump all the damage I can, but I'm just running out of time. I can't do it. I mean, I can dump Raptures afterwards, but my PS and Soul Rot have fallen, and I'm having to refresh baseline dots, and it's like, all right, at that point, so that's Affliction. We'll see where it goes, all that, and hopefully, hopefully it works out. When it comes to Destruction, there are some points I want to get feedback on, but it's also a spec that I think if there's going to be changes coming, we'll probably see it in the next 2 weeks. I think it's how AF needs changes more, for sure, than Destro. There's some quality of life things. I think we should just have Shadowburn part of Crushing Chaos. It affects Chaos Bolt and Rain of Fire. It should affect Shadowburn too. Add Shadowburn into this. A lot of my feedback sort of revolves around Shadowburn for this section of the video as well. Obviously, we need to buff the crap out of Demon Fire Infusion. This thing is like like Burning Crusade level of damage. It is so astronomically undertuned with the proc rate. We need to buff the ever living crap out of this. Make the proc rate 20% or whatever it was during PTR in 11.1 when it was actually playable. It's just like way off tuning wise. So there's that. As far as like the Inferno change and all that being removed, I think it's fine. Without, I mean, 2 shard Rain of Fire was nice and stuff, but like, you know, when we had old Inferno with shard gen coming in by just hitting, you know, multiple mobs, shard gen constantly, that was great. I think everyone can probably agree playing with Kata feels great. With Wither, emulate applications, CDF cycling, and M+. It feels really good. So that's that, right? Now, as far as, I think, like, Destro's main, like, I wouldn't say issues, but points of feedback lies in the Shadowburn area. I like what Shadowburn's done for Affliction, giving it a lot, or sorry, Destruction, giving it a lot more mobility. You can cast Shadowburns in the move. A boss is low on health. You're just playing Shadowburn in the first place. You have that in execute range. Havoc Cleave, Mayhem Cleave ever feels great. A lot of little tricks you can do on things like Muggsy. I'd say Muggsy Mythic feels great with Rocketeers. But I will say that Shadowburn should be affected by Crash and Chaos, number one. It feels terrible if you're playing Crash and Chaos. It sims higher. Not many play it. A bit of that also being due to the fact that, like, if you're infernaling at the end of a fight, timing-wise, all that stuff too, you're trying to dump 8 Chaos Bolts, Crash and Chaos-based stacks, but you're trying to weave in Shadowburns too. It feels very weird. It's hard to do. Just make it affect Shadowburn. It's given Destro a lot of movement and things, which is nice, but the tier set this tier, which you are playing, Hellcaller is just Wither-based stuff. Okay, I guess I'm playing Diabolus here. Just the wrong talents. I think I'm playing this. Sure. Hellcaller is just Wither-based stuff. It's fine. Whatever. I do think when it comes to Hellcaller, we should increase the backdraft cap from 2 to 5-4. They changed this. They changed this in, I think Dragonflight at the start, where backdraft was limited. It was 4 stacks before, but now it was changed to 2. With your tier set giving you 2 stacks of backdraft whenever you pop it, or pop Malevolence, right? It is very easy to overcap on backdraft stacks. Now, AF has Crescendo, giving you 2 stacks as well, but you typically generate a good bit more backdraft stacks than you do Crescendo, and just, I think it would free things up, better quality of life and all that. I mean, my opener, is, for the most part, has always been like, you know, precast Soulfire, try and put an Infernal down, Conflagrate, then go into, like, you know, Shadowburns, whatever else, to get, like, Roaring Blaze up, to get Eradication up. But if I go, like, Conflagrate into, like, Malevolence, I'm actually overcapping on backdraft stacks, which just waste 1. Right, I think we should increase the cap to 4, like it used to be. It only change a crazy amount. You might have like 3 stacks at times if you're like playing Conflagrate weird outside of your Malevolence window, but having 2 just feels sort of weird. Or like a max of 2, right? And this gives you 2, feels sort of weird. And people are probably going to waste a lot of stacks in more like, I guess you can say, casual play, and or just like settings where they're not really aware of what's going on with backdraft. So that's sort of annoying. So there's that. But getting back to the Shadowburn thing, when it comes to Diabolist, it's odd because Diabolist set, if I could change here, basically builds, okay, with Malevolence here, Diabolist set is triggered off of casting Chaos Bolt or Rain of Fire. It is not triggered off casting Shadowburn. Shadowburn is a shard-consuming spell, very, very similar to what we have here with Crashing Chaos, where it's Chaos Bolt and Rain of Fire. They both consume shards. So does Shadowburn, but it's not part of Crashing Chaos. Why? Not really sure. That's great. I love my add-ons here. Right, very cool. We're going to reload that. Don't worry about it. Welcome to PTR. The tier set, however, when it comes to putting Shadowburn on that, like tacking Shadowburn onto it, it's a good thing to not have Shadowburn on there. It would be too excessive. The tier set says whenever you cast Chaos Bolt or Rain of Fire, it gives you an Oculus. The Oculus, a max of 3. Whenever you spawn a demon in, it throws the Oculus, they explode, give you int, right? So you can see how it would promote like degenerate gameplay, having like, all right, the moment you throw 3 eyes, cue a Chaos Bolt, then go Shadowburn, Shadowburn, to 3 eye stacks and all that, so you guarantee you have 3 eyes all the time. I think not having Shadowburn part of the tier set is nice. I think it makes sense and it's the right play, but we should add it to Crashing Chaos. What that also does is that it really devalues Shadowburn if you're playing Diabolus Destro. Now, it's probably only a single target play. Hellcaller, Malevolence, Wither stuff's going to be a lot better. In cleave-based settings, less tuning is way off, but it makes it so Shadowburn is likely enough to play for Diabolus next year, and you probably shift into a CDF world. CDF already sims higher than Shadowburn, but you play Shadowburn for the universal applicability you have in M+, or sorry, rating. Some play it in M+2 just for what it does. But the fact that it's sort of a non-bow with your tier set, it doesn't proc your tier. It also pulls shards away from your tier set because you're not casting so many chaos bolts because, you know, Shadowburn has 1 shard cost. You're very likely shifting into CDF next tier, which if you're in single target and you're playing Diabolist, which might not happen. But if that does become the world we live in, there's that. And then you go back to this position of Destro really can't move or do a whole lot. Shadowburn's given a crazy amount of mobility, freedom to move around at M+, more so rating. Without that, you're back in a world where Destro is like cement shoes. You've got Conflict Rate you can cast in the move. That's basically it. And once again, if you're getting into a Malevolence window, I guess you're playing Hull Color, it's different, but you have Conflict Rate. That's basically it. And we're back in this world of, okay, well, sick. I am basically a turret again. So I don't really know. You shouldn't add Shadowburn to the Diabolist tier set, but I think just a more of a broad topic, Destro needs more mobility, more ways to get more mobility out of things, right? If you take Shadowburn out of Destro's, like, you know, core talent toolkit for the last 2 tiers, it's people are just complaining infinitely because you can't move while you're casting. You can't do anything. In modern day WoW, casters need ways to cast spells on the move. I'm not talking full kill Jaden's Cunning, but some way to cast spells on the move. We're not playing in TBC or Wrath anymore. Mechanics are vomited at 24/7 all the time. You need to have ways to adapt to scenarios and cast spells, have your toolkit that can flex and things and be able to cast things on the move. Some classes have it. BM Hunter has infinite cast ability, whatever. Mages have certain things, shamans have things, evokers have things. I'm not saying bring back KJC, but give us something that we can cast on the move with. If you take away Shadowburn, whether you nerf it or give us a tier set like what Diabolist has, it's just back to cement shoes, and it feels very awkward. So that's that point for Destro. We'll see where it goes in the next few days, weeks, whatever. The last thing here, please, rifts. People love rifts. I love rifts. They're cool. I'm sure somebody doesn't in the comment section. They're gonna hate me for saying it, but I love rifts. I think they're cool. They need buffs. There's some weird scaling with this. It's better or worse than 5%. I forgot what it was, but this needs to be looked at. Probably is buffed in general. I want Flame Rift back. Flame Rift sick. Flame Rift with like bad light protection. Like guaranteeing every 4th rift being a flame rift would be sick. Buff the damage, make them proc more often, make the cleave more relevant. Honestly, if you buffed rifts and made it so like you have rift here, like you can literally bake unstable bolts into rift. It's fine. You don't need these 2. Just put this in here as like passive rifts. Like they just cleave whenever you have it, and make this flame rift. Buff damage. Put this in here with these rifts, and make this flame rift. And you have the option of playing Rift in like raid encounters, and there's your mobility you can have for Warlock. If you're not playing Shadowburn Diabolist, even if you are, you can play Rift. And I got a move for mechanic, open a Rift. Open a Rift. You can put a point here, maybe move Diabolic Embers to get random resets on Rifts too. Similar to like Ripper, whenever Wither Immolate ticks. You can totally build around Rift and form a really different version of AF. It's really cool. Destro. With Rifts, if you just iterate upon it a bit more. Rifts are sick. It solves mobility issues at times. They're cool in general, need buffs. Let's focus on that and give a really exciting version of Destro with Rifts back. I'm down for it. Now, for Demonology, I want to read over the changes here because a lot came in. We're going to skim through them fast. They're changing a couple things to Demonology. So they're addressing tuning the right side of the tree, being Guillotine, Immutable Hatred, all that. Guillotine's gone. They're buffing the passive buffs. Brutality and Tactics are buff damage-wise. If they're worth it, we'll run sims at some point and figure it out. This is numerical stuff. It's hard to see in raw testing. We'll see what happens. The big thing here is Tyrant Ramp. They mentioned they're going to lower the requirements for maximizing Tyrant's throughput, which means they want to lower, which to me means they want to lower the skill ceiling of Tyrant a bit, right? We want Tyrant to be an expression of skill for Demonology, actually right there. We also want maximization of its throughput to be attainable in a variety of different encounters rather than only challenges with lower mobility requirements. Basically meaning like with Ring of Tyranny, you had 15 imp cap, you wanted to get 15, I mean, realistically you couldn't get that without Imp Mother, but you wanted a Grimoire, you wanted a purple or red dog, you wanted Dreadstalkers, you wanted like as many imps as possible, up to 15. So you were like hyper focused on optimizing every little cast and movement when you're Tyrant ramping to get everything in. If you were a second late, a pet expired and it was totally scuffed. I agree that was a bit too much. It's been that way for a long time. Welcome to Demonology. I think we pulled back a bit too much on this, though. There's been talks of making Tyrant instant cast. Listen, I'd be down for that. I've never been against it. I don't think they want to do that because they talk about skill expression and things. I believe they consider Tyrant being, having a cast time on it, part of Demonology's skill expression. So instead of having but they've made a change so where it's not 15 imps anymore, like max extension, it's now 5. They've made Tyrant extend baseline 5 imps. It was 10. And they've made Reign of Tyranny, where they've taken Reign of Tyranny and taken it out of the game. So that Reign of Tyranny gave 5 extra imps from max of 15. So regardless, now your Tyrant can extend only 5 imps, which I think is too low. I'd like to see 10 again. I'd like to see 8 as a minimum. This change here affects rating and things. It affects Demo burst, all that, but it really also affects M+. There's a lot of settings where M+, if I'm, if a pack is dying and I've got Tyrant coming up in like 5 seconds, I'm not trying to Tyrant at the end of it. I'm running along, or I'm standing there, casting a few handed Guldans, right? I'm trying to get like 9, 12, 14 imps out. So when I go to the next pack, I can just like precast the Vial Fiend off to the side here. We're getting ready to be in combat, tanks pulling the pack. The moment we're in combat, just cast dogs, either hard cast or through a calling proc, Tyrant, and it extends 15 imps. You got a Vial Fiend out or a red dog, you got a dog set out, and you're thrashing huge damage. And that was a really good expression of having a higher skill ceiling for Demonology. When you learn how to adapt to packs and plus, it's a very easy spec to play at a core level, but it took a lot more skill to get better at it on a higher level. That's gone. You can have 5 imps. That's it. You can carry 5 imps from the last pack. You can do the same thing, but you're going to extend 5. Not 10, 12, 14, 15. It's 5. So that hurts Demonology's pack transitioning a lot down plus, which I think is really unfortunate. That was really, really fun. I like doing that. So I'd like to see an increase back to 10. Talent-wise, I'd love to just see Tyrant. I mean, Tyrant being instant cast would be great. I think we make that concession probably is the best overall. That's probably the best result we could do. I don't know if they want to do that. But it's on the table, and we should just do it. Because it would help fix a lot of things. You can make it 10 imps if you're in a spot where it's like, oh crap, I have to Tyrant here, but I didn't get all my imps out. You can just hit it without having to be like, all right, well, I lost a Vial Fiend, and that's unfortunate. It feels bad, right? So if that's possible, great. If not, regardless, though, I think we can make it like at least 8 imps, something like that. Maybe go from there. So there's that. They made Vial Fiend's cooldown 25, was 30. Great change. We actually mentioned this directly word for word for a long time. Love this. It's not implemented yet for Purple and Red Dog. I think they forgot to flag them last PTR. Hopefully this week's be able to change that. Very cool. Hatred was buffed by 40. Still seems really bad. See what happens. This is all sim stuff. Guillotine's gone, and Reign of Tyranny is gone. So Reign of Tyranny being removed makes Tyrant the lowest damage base spell you can basically. It makes it like my lowest damage source as Soul Harvester. And it makes it very low for Diabolus as well. Diabolus is a modifier here that increases damage from pets more when Tyrant's active. I think Tyrant as well. Soul Harvester damage with Tyrant is... It's really sad. We need to add like I think we need to add a large modifier to Tyrant. Being a minute cooldown and all that here, I'll even do some damage here. Being a minute cooldown and all that, and having it just do such little damage. I know that it amplifies your demons further and all that, but Tyrant itself is just really, really bad. So we're going to Tyrant here. You're going to Tyrant, and we'll look for his damage. Where is he? I don't know. Where's Tyrant? Oh, there he is. He's in 12th. There he is. That's my major cooldown right there. He expired. He's in 11th, and he'll continue to fall. The more I cast bolts, the more I do Soul Harvester things. Obviously, our tiers are overtuned. His damage is really bad. I know he's buffing pets. I know he's bringing more amps to my dogs. And my imp, it was buffed from 15 to 25. But we got to buff Tyrant's baseline damage. We're just fundamentally shifting things away from Tyrant having that decon value to having more just like general pet value. And that's okay, but it feels really bad. Tyrant for a long time has been this major cooldown that you hit, and it does big damage. It comes in even decent damage with Diabolus. It comes in, does decent damage, good damage, big damage, and it expires. Brother, he's fallen off my damage meter. I gotta scroll so far down. He's almost below. He's gonna be below Umbral Blaze. He's almost below my weapon enchant. Like, So we gotta find a way, I think, to bring Tyrant back a decent bit of juice, bit of value, right? Soul Harvester Tyrants haven't always been the strongest compared to Diabolus. It ain't much better. It's like up here. It's still really bad. Now, I think a good way to do this is to bake damage into Master Summoner. Master Summoner was a talent that was taken from PvP. We've hit on this for a long time in previous feedback videos. It was a PvP talent, now it's PvE based. I've said for like a handful of videos, or even like feedback over the last few patches, like, yo, let's take Summoner. Let's take Summoner and put it in the Clash or the Spec tree. You know, it would make cast time shorter for other spells. It would make things more fluent and all that. And I do like that, but it's been redesigned. And I was sitting here for a few days thinking, why is Summoner so bad? Because I forgot one part of it, right? It's like, I've been calling for this for a while. I've wanted this for a while, but why is it so bad? Number one, it's in a spot where like Tyranny used to be. It's nowhere near as strong as Tyranny. Nowhere near it. It probably needs to be up here somewhere. But number two, yeah, the reason we wanted Calling or Master Summoner in the tree was because it reduced Dreadstalker's cooldown by 5 seconds. Not their cast time, but the actual cooldown. So Dreadstalkers were 15 seconds with this talent in PvP. Not 20. But the overhaul removed that 5-second reduction on dogs, and they added the cooldown reduction to dogs, Vile Fiend, and Tyrant. They added 10% to that. It was 15 when it was PvP talent. It was 15 seconds, and it was a 15-second cast time reduction. Forgive me. It was a 15% cast time reduction on dogs, Vile Fiend, and Tyrant, but it also had a 5-second cooldown reduction on Dreadstalkers when it was a PvP talent. 5-second cooldown reduction is gone from dogs. They just upped the cast time reduction to 25 and 15. This is not worth taking. You will not play this anywhere, because quite often your Dreadstalkers are a free cast through Calling. Even if they're not, let's say 1 out of 2 sets is not, you're trimming what, 0.4 seconds off of a cast once every 40-ish seconds. Vile Fiend's a half-minute cast, or half-minute cooldown, and Tyrant's a minute cooldown. This saves you like it saves you a global. It saves you 1.5 globals every minute or something like that. It's not good. Now what we could do here is take this talent and say, hey, here's some, we're gonna mute that. We could take this talent and just say, hey, you can keep the cast time reduction. I'd love to have the dog 5%, cooldown reduction added onto it, but let's also add a modifier that also increases Dreadstalkers, Vile Fiend, Tyrant's damage by 25%, or just buff Tyrant by X amount too. Add some damage modifier onto this that makes Summoner worthwhile. You're a Master Summoner, but the talent, this talent is probably one of the worst in the class tree, or the spec tree. Tuning-wise, out of all these, right? It's worse than Blood Invocation. I doubt it really even nets you much damage at all, right? But if you tack a clause onto this to make you like a Master Summoner, maybe you can add on a clause that extends, or it gives you 5 more imps again. How Ring of Tyranny was. You can add that on. That'd probably be pretty decent too. And that'd probably be enough to justify taking it, right? It might carry it a bit, but like, adding in that skill expression again, you couldn't get 15 in, but you can get 10. That would change the M plus 1 pack to the next scenario. It would add a bit more skill ceiling into like rating and things, but they might not want that because they've reduced it to 5. So I think the best thing to do here is either make it so it makes Dreadstalkers 15 seconds, like it did in PvP, remove the 10% bonus cast time reduction, nobody cares about that, or add a damage modifier to this. Because honestly, like this is like, it's cool in the spec tree, but man, it doesn't do anything. We need to have like something else to this, right? You're casting dogs once every 20, Vile Fiend once every 30, Tyrant once every minute, and half your dogs are instant cast anyways. It doesn't do anything. But there's a lot of potential with this talent being in the spec tree. So I'm happy to see it here, but we need to change that a bit. Is it equal to Ring of Tyranny? No. Add a damage amp to it. Make it increase Tyrant damage by 50. Make it increase the buff that Tyrant gives to your pets by an additional 15%, 20%, 25%, whatever the tuning is. Make it like a strong talent. Maybe, it's below Tyrant. Have it amplify Tyrant more. Have it increase, number of imps. Have it amplify Tyrant's damage amp. Make Tyrant last twice as long. Give like Tyrant as a cooldown more value. Give your spells more raw damage. It's a Master Summoner, but in the end, I'm not really summoning anything. Like, you know what I mean? So let's add some more juice to this. It'll be sick. We need to fix this too. The cooldown reduction here, or the cast time reduction. We forgot the flag, purple and red dog. And the last thing here, this side of the tree, I don't know. It's going to be a sim thing. Hatred just seems like it's a pretty big. Either way, we'll see where it goes, but it seems pretty bad from what I tested. So that's basically that. Obviously, moving around Imp Mother somewhere, not paying a toll for Umber Blaze is sick. If we can do that, add a Hand of Gul'dan splash clause to Umbra Blaze. It applies Blaze that your mob Hand of Gul'dan lands on, like old Hand of Doom. That'd be sick. It'd take a talent that nobody really likes to being, wow, this is sick. Literally adding a Hand of Gul'dan clause to Umbra Blaze wouldn't even do a crazy amount. You cap it at 6 targets or whatever. But it go from being a niche single target talent to some huge talent everybody enjoys an M+, all that alike when you're crashing down Hand of Gul'dans and applying Umbra Blaze on everything. And it also wouldn't be some stupid toll you gotta pay to get to Imp Mother. So, yeah, that's it. That's most of Demo stuff. Honestly, most of the feedback in general. So yeah, wraps it up. Thanks for watching, guys. Trying to make it a short video. Probably ended up being half an hour again, let's be honest here. But a lot of things to hit on feedback-wise. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the video. I will say I am pumped to see this week's PTR build. Hopefully some AF changes, some Destro stuff, Clash Tree stuff. If not, well, you know, it is what it is. But all we can do is give feedback. Go from there. So I'd encourage y'all to hop on the forums, give feedback there too if y'all want, and you know, let's try and form the best, most exciting version of Warlock that we can, you know, early on in PTR. So if you guys have any weak warriors or add-ons, profiles, whatever you saw in the video or in general, Twitch, Discord, links up here as well as down below in the description, all for free for you guys. Heads up, the 11.2 Warlock PTR spreadsheet is coming out on Patreon probably within a week or so, a few days, depending on raid testing. If you want early access to that, the tier 3 Felguard rank or higher does get it, but it goes public for free before the patch comes out, like always. And speaking of that, a huge thank you to my supporters on Patreon. I greatly appreciate it, guys. Thank you for all support. Much love. Without y'all being around and supporting things, I wouldn't be able to do what I do for y'all, and I greatly appreciate it. So yeah, we'll see where it goes. There's raid testing this Thursday, which I'm excited for. We'll see how the raid shakes out too. A lot of the fights, they're sort of hard to interpret from the dungeon journal. Some of the fights look insane. The last two look incredible, but we will not be testing Dementius obviously on PTR, but we'll know pretty soon if this is a good Warlock tier or mid or whatever. But I think if you're looking at Liberation of Undermine, it's not going to be as strong for Warlock based on pure damage profiles, but it could be wrong. We'll see where it goes. We'll learn more on Thursday and Friday. I'll be streaming it. Come by, say hey. Thanks for watching, y'all. GG, GN. I'll see you later. Peace.